I'm staying in the 11 reusing content.dwg file, and I'm sure you've saved it somewhere and you're working along, following along with the videos. Now, in the previous video, we looked at grouping objects together. We're going to look at something similar, but it's going to be called an AutoCAD block. An AutoCAD block is a group of AutoCAD entities joined together to form an object. So you can see in this particular drawing, and I like this drawing for this reason, we have three simple objects that we want to make into blocks. We have a hinge, a bolt, and a keyhole. So you can see that each of these is made up of all its individual AutoCAD entities, arcs, circles, polygons, lines, and so on. Now what we're going to do for this particular example is create a block of the bolt in the middle. So zoom in a little bit first, like that. Make sure you can see all of the bolt like that. Now, what I'm going to get you to do next goes against what I told you to do in previous videos. I'm going to ask you to put all of the elements that make up the bolt onto the layer 0. Now you may be asking yourself, why is he asking us to put everything onto layer 0 when he told us not to? Because layer 0 is a great layer for creating blocks. When you create your block, if you put all the elements of the block onto layer 0 when you create it, the block, when you insert it into the drawing, will automatically assume the current drafting layer. So for example, if my layer was bolt in this particular drawing and I inserted a bolt block into the drawing, it will automatically assume that bolt layer. So what we're going to do, we're going to select all of the elements that make up the bolt. So I'm going to click here, just do a window selection, get all of it selected and click again. On the Home tab on the ribbon, go to the Layer panel, go to the pull-down menu and just select Layer 0. Click on the 0 and you'll see it all go to Layer 0, as you can see behind the pop-out on the menu there. So just hit Escape now and you can see it's all white in this case. Layer 0 is white. Now, everything is on Layer 0. It's not on the bolt layer anymore. But what we need to do is make sure that our current layer here is the bolt layer. So we click on the flyer again and we click on the word bolt like that. Don't confuse converting to the bolt layer as converting the objects onto the layer 0. So make sure these are all on layer 0. So now what we're going to do, we're going to create a very, very simple block of our elements to make up a bolt block. Now you can do this from the Home tab on the ribbon. You've got the block panel here and you can see I can create a block there. You've also, on the Insert tab on the ribbon, got the ability there to create a block there as well. So you can do it either way. I'm going to go back to the Home tab on the ribbon and I'm going to use the block panel here and I'm going to click on Create Block. That will open up the block definition dialog box. Now there's a lot of information here. In AutoCAD 2017 as well, you can resize the dialog. That's one of the new features in 2017, resizing dialog boxes. Now I'm just going to give it a really simple name. I'm just going to put bolt in capitals like that. Nice and simple. Now we need to specify a base point for our block. Now I'm going to use this icon here, pick point. And I'm going to utilize my object snaps and use the center snap of the circles that make up the bolt. So I'm going to click on center there. Make sure your object snaps are on so that you get the center snap. And there we go. So there's no way I could have guessed those X and Y values. AutoCAD is quite accurate, as you can see. So that's our base point. Now that will be where the grip shows up when you select the block once it's been created. Now I need to select the objects that I'm going to make into the block. So again, I click on Select Objects here. Again, window selection to select, get everything, click, 2 clicks, then a right click to confirm. So you can see I've got 4 objects selected and there's a little preview there. And if I drag the dialog and make it a bit bigger, can you see there? Obviously that little preview will get bigger the bigger I make the dialog box. Now you've got 3 options when you create a block. So the original objects can be retained, which means the block will go into the drawing database behind the drawing, but the original lines, arcs and circles will stay there. You can convert the original lines, arcs and circles to a block, or you can delete the original elements. I'm going to delete because I want to make you a little bit worried, and you'll see why in a minute. Now, you've got the behavior of your block. I'm not going to worry about annotative blocks. That's all to do with scaling for viewports. But I do want to scale uniformly, because if I use the scale command on this block, I want it to scale both in the X and Y directions so it looks normal. You don't want it all looking all stretched. Also, you must, and this is a must, I always tick allow exploding. I worked with a lady once who created a beautiful title block, made it into an AutoCAD block, and realised she spelt a word wrong and she hadn't allowed exploding. So she couldn't explode the block, edit the spelling error, and then resave it as the block again. So we had to delete the whole thing and start again. Very frustrating. So always allow exploding. Now, in this case, it's a metric drawing, so the block unit will be millimeters. You can also assign a hyperlink to a website of a manufacturer that you're making a block of, for example. You can also place a text description. You can also open in the block editor. We'll look at that later on in the section. So there's my bolt block all ready to go. When I click on OK, everything's gone because I've deleted the original elements that made up the block. However, if I check my layers, make sure that I'm on the bolt layer because I created the block on the layer 0. So if I bring this bolt block in now, it'll automatically adopt the current drafting layer. So I can go to the block panel on the home tab on the ribbon here, and I can insert a block there, or I can use the insert tab if I want to. I'm going to insert the block like so. There's my little preview of my bolt. I click on bolt there, and there it is, and it's now a block. So I'll just bring that in. I'm not too worried about where it's going to sit exactly between the keyhole and the hinge. And I click once, and there's the insertion point. Can you see the crosshairs dead center on the circle? So I click, and there's my block. Now that has come in on the bolt layer. It's still green. Hover over it. It's now a block reference on the layer bolt. And that is how you create and use regular AutoCAD blocks in AutoCAD.